One of my favorite things about creating art is that I can start a project without really having a plan. Just sit down with a piece of paper, throw some ideas at it, and see where it takes us. And that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to create a abstract drawing or painting. We'll see how it goes. And it will be physical. I've been mostly working in digital lately, but it's always nice to make a physical piece of art. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages between a physical piece and a digital one. Number one, with a physical piece, you don't get the coveted undo button, which is huge. But you don't have what I perceive as a disconnect between you and the art. When I'm using a stylus or a mouse, I don't feel nearly as connected to the piece of art as I do when I'm using a pencil or pen or paintbrush or whatever. But that's what we're doing today. We're going to make a abstract piece of physical art, and we'll see how it goes. I haven't always been super into art. Growing up, I was always into sports and Boy Scouts and things like that. But I do remember when I first wanted to get good at art. In the 4th grade, I had this friend that would get on the bus, and he would always have these super awesome drawings of like Terminators and Ninja Turtles and things like that. But they wouldn't be like the regular Terminator or Ninja Turtles, they would be his versions of them. And even though I wasn't an artist, I was always way into imagination and pretending. And this aspect of art really grabbed onto me, the ability to imagine something and put it out into the world. But I wanted that superpower. I wanted to be able to make Terminators and Ninja Turtles that I imagined and have the weapons that I imagined and, look how I thought they could look. So from then on, anytime I had a blank piece of paper in front of me, I would just draw. And when you're in school, you just got big chunks of time, hours and hours every day, where you're just sitting in front of paper. And that became my thing for a long time. I've always considered drawing like one of my base elements of art, and for a really long time that was really all I did in the artistic realm. It wasn't until years later when I would start to bring ink into it, and even more years before paints and pastels, and then from there diving into computer graphics and then eventually music. But drawing has always been there for me, and it's helped me along the way in ways I couldn't imagine. That same friend who did the Terminators and Ninja Turtles later went on to ask me what kind of music I liked, and up until that moment I hadn't considered what kind of music I liked. Essentially up until then I would just listen to music that my parents liked, and they mostly liked modern country and some 80s pop, which is fine, but I knew it wasn't something that was my opinion. I made it a point from there to figure out what kind of music I liked, and that pushed me to dive down into this lifelong rabbit hole of discovering music, which I love. This piece here ended up being a mixed media situation. I don't have a problem with mixed media. I feel like a lot of artists specialize, but I've never been the specialized kind of guy. I think one of the main pillars of my art appreciation is that it can't be boring. So anytime I can introduce an element that's surprising or unconventional, I'll jump at that. And a lot of my work is mixed media, especially if you delve into making videos where you're essentially using all the art. So adding acrylic paint and ink and pencil and anything else to an art piece, all that feels right to me. If you look closely, I just use the oldest form of the undo button, which is essentially just paint over it and try something different until you like it again. The size of this paper is 11 by 14, which is a great size for painting and drawing. Although I don't love it when I have to go in and do a flatbed scan of it, as my flatbed scanner is considerably smaller than this, so I always end up having to take it into Photoshop and stitch it together, which is a little bit of a chore. I don't hate it, but it's an extra step that I wish I didn't have to go through every time I wanted to do a larger drawing. And that's one of the myriad of aversions I have to doing larger pieces. The extra steps involved, of course, but also I'll tend to get bogged down in the minutia of it. I'll get too tied up in the smaller details rather than focusing on the entire work. So that's something I'd like to get better at. That same aspect of losing the forest through the trees also rears its head in other aspects of my art, and is one of the reasons I've been doing these smaller videos, so I can just concentrate on creating content rather than getting lost in the minutia of it all. And there it is. I think it turned out pretty cool. I super appreciate you for taking the time to watch, and if you're interested in seeing any more of my art or buying prints or originals, I'll leave links down in the description. And again, thanks for watching my video.